There are no idle words in the spiritual realm. Every word you speak, every phrase you repeat, every declaration you make, whether conscious or unconscious, is a spiritual contract. The universe does not judge the quality of your language. It mirrors it. What you say consistently becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you live. Most people speak from habit, unaware that their words are seeds, but when the words are chosen with intent and spoken with emotional charge, they become sacred commands. This is how the soul shapes form. This is how the invisible becomes seen. You are not here to beg the universe. You are here to command through alignment. The spoken word is the human being's most potent tool of creation. Thought is the blueprint, but word is the architect. Thought floats, but speech roots. When you speak something aloud, you claim it. You make an invisible idea become a vibrational reality. This is why ancient scriptures began with "let there be," and not "I hope there will be." You do not speak to wish, you speak to wield. When I declared I would win, the universe began to shift, not because I was chosen, but because I chose. I chose to speak in the language of certainty, not doubt. I repeated words not to convince God, but to condition myself into agreement with divine law. The words I used were not ordinary, they were declarations, and the tone was not one of desperation, but of conviction. I did not ask to win, I announced it. There is a truth few are willing to accept. Your outer life is a reflection of your inner speech. The body hears it, the energy field carries it, the subconscious records it, and the world delivers it. So the question is not, do you want wealth? The question is, what do your words say you deserve? Do you speak of someday or do you declare now? Do you talk of delay or do you pronounce arrival? The lottery of life is not random. It is ruled by vibration, and vibration begins with voice. Every word must be treated as law. If you say, "I always miss opportunities," you've just signed a contract with lack. If you say, "Nothing good ever happens to me," you've placed a verbal curse on your timeline. But if you say, "I am the one wealth chooses," or "My win is inevitable and on time," you write a new contract. And if you say it daily, repeatedly, with breath and body involved, then you not only rewrite your script, you rewrite your destiny. This is not superstition, this is spiritual science. The subconscious is moved by rhythm, repetition, and emotion. And when a phrase is spoken enough times with belief, it no longer feels like fiction. It becomes a fact embedded in your field. From that field, reality is born. When I repeated my words daily, I was not trying to make something happen. I was affirming that it already had. My speech became aligned with divine truth, not external proof. I did not wait to see evidence to speak differently. I spoke differently until evidence appeared, and it did. Again and again. 8 times, I declared. 8 times the win followed. Not because I am special, but because I spoke in the language of spiritual law, the language of certainty, gratitude, and alignment. And this language is available to all. There is no such thing as luck in the divine order. What the world calls chance is only the outer reflection of inner certainty. To win in any area of life, you must rise above superstition and enter into spiritual law. The law says, what you consistently feel, believe, and declare must become form. The lottery, then, is not won by chance, it is won by vibration. And vibration is shaped by what you speak with belief. Divine declaration is not a plea. It is not a wish whispered into the void. It is a bold announcement to the universe of what is already known in spirit. When I spoke my declaration, I did not beg for favor. I aligned with truth. I aligned with the version of me who had already received the blessing, and I spoke from her frequency. My words were not a request. They were a confirmation. This is the path most miss. They try to manipulate outcomes by obsessing over numbers, tickets, timing. They focus on the mechanics, not the metaphysics. But true manifestation is not about how something comes. It is about who you are being when you call it in. Are you being the one who already has it? Or are you being the one who is still waiting? When I declared wealth flows to me easily, it was not a mantra, it was a shift. I could feel my energy recalibrate. I could feel my body respond. I could feel the world bend. Because the moment you declare with truth, the universe begins rearranging itself to match your word. Not because of effort, but because of energetic instruction. You do not need luck when you have law. Divine law never misses. It does not delay, distort, or deny what is yours by right of consciousness, and it responds instantly to authority. When your voice carries authority, not ego, but soul-level certainty, then what you call comes. You may ask, but how can I believe in something that hasn't happened yet? The answer is this: it has happened, in the field. In spirit, it is already complete. Your job is not to make it happen, but to match the frequency of the completed version through your feeling and your speech. Divine declaration is how you shift from probability to inevitability. It is the moment you stop playing small. It is the moment you stop waiting for permission. It is the moment you open your mouth and say, "It is mine now." Not later, not maybe, now. And when you say that with heart, body, and soul aligned, the external must submit. That is the law. So cast out the idea of luck. Cast out the idea of random fortune. Step into your divine inheritance. The wealth you seek is already seeking you, but it is waiting for your words to open the gate. Not polite words, not nervous words, declarative words, words that move heaven, words that command angels, words that shift timelines. When I won the lottery 8 times, it was not because I was lucky. It was because I was clear. Clear in speech, clear in feeling, clear in identity. I did not ask, I announced. I did not hope, I knew. And I knew not because I saw, but because I declared what I chose to see. And now it is your turn. Speak from power. Speak from knowing. Declare from the end. And watch the universe say, "It is done." Before money appears in your bank account, it shows up in your body. True abundance is not simply financial, it is vibrational. It is a state of wholeness, vitality, expansion, and flow. And the very first place this state expresses itself is not in your wallet, but in your health. You cannot attract wealth while living in tension. You cannot invite overflow while your body is in survival mode. The nervous system is either in defense or in reception, but it cannot do both. When I began repeating the words that would lead to my first win, I noticed a shift long before the prize arrived. My breath deepened, my sleep became restful, my digestion softened. I laughed more, my skin glowed, I felt light. This was not coincidence, this was alignment. The words I spoke were not just financial, they were energetic instructions to my cells, my immune system, my chemistry. They were activating abundance on every level. You see, abundance is coherence. It's when the mind, the body, and the spirit all move in agreement. When you speak wealth with your mouth but feel anxious in your chest, the signal is split. When you affirm prosperity but carry shame in your gut, the manifestation stalls. The body tells the truth. And if your body is not at ease, the universe reads that as not ready to receive. So we begin where creation always begins, with inner vibration. You must learn to feel safe with wealth before it arrives. You must allow your body to live in the frequency of having, not lacking. This means tending to your nervous system, slowing your breath, softening your belly, relaxing your jaw. This means creating space inside yourself for the miracle to land. The words I spoke each morning were wrapped in reverence and rhythm. I am aligned with infinite good. My wealth flows with grace. My body is a magnet for divine supply. These were not just financial declarations, they were healing affirmations. They taught my nervous system to expect goodness. And once that expectation was set, the floodgates opened. Most people seek money from a place of desperation. But desperation blocks the channel. The universe does not respond to begging, it responds to belief. And belief is anchored first in the body. If your shoulders are tense, your breath is shallow, your voice is strained, you are telling the field, I am not yet aligned with ease. But when you feel calm, grounded, receptive, you tell the field, I'm ready. And it listens, always. Because divine law is exact, and it only responds to your dominant vibration. Health is not just the absence of illness, it is the presence of harmony. When your heart is light and your mind is clear, you become a true receiver. And the words you repeat begin to crystallize into results, not because they are magic, but because you are now magnetic. Speak health first. Feel ease first. Let abundance flow through your breath before it flows through your hands, because the one who is truly abundant radiates it, even in stillness, and the universe will always meet that glow with tangible reward. There is a rhythm to reality, a sacred current that flows between what is spoken and what is shown. And when the right words are spoken with emotional charge, consistency, and conviction, they do not just float into space. They build a new world. I was not lucky. I was deliberate. I repeated a specific set of words that tuned my frequency to receiving. Again and again. Let me be clear. It was not the words alone. It was the energy behind them. It was the faith, the breath, the ritual. But the phrases I used were crafted to bypass doubt, to speak directly to divine law, and to impress the subconscious with truth, not fear. Here is the core affirmation I used every morning, aloud, with full presence. Divine substance now pours through me. I am open. I am ready. I am receiving. Unexpected money arrives in miraculous ways. I live in the flow of wealth, now and always. This was not said to wish. It was said to command. I stood in front of a mirror. I looked myself in the eyes. I breathed deeply between each line. I allowed my voice to carry certainty. I let the words vibrate through my body. Another variation I used was, I am aligned with the winning timeline. I accept divine riches. I receive my lottery blessing with joy, grace, and ease. It is done. These words were repeated morning and night every single day for weeks. I never missed. Not because I was trying to force a result, but because I was anchoring my identity. I wasn't just someone hoping to win. I was the one who wins. That's who I became. And the words were the doorway into that embodiment. The repetition is key. The subconscious cannot resist what is repeated with emotion. Say it once, and it is a wish. Say it every day with feeling, and it becomes law. Your subconscious begins to shape your thoughts, emotions, and behavior around this identity. Your energy shifts. Your choices align. Your reality bends. I was not trying to manipulate fate. I was activating alignment. The wins were not miracles. They were reflections. I had spoken, felt, embodied the outcome long before it arrived. And when it did arrive, it came not as a surprise, but as a confirmation. Each of the 8 wins began with a whisper, not a ticket. A whisper that said, it's already yours. Say it again. And I did. Again and again until my body believed it, until my frequency pulsed with it, until the divine field had no choice but to return what had already been spoken as true. So now I give this code to you, not as superstition, but as spiritual technology. Speak it with breath. Speak it with rhythm. Speak it with knowing, and let the field respond in kind. Because when your word is clear, your heart is open, and your energy is aligned, there is nothing that cannot be delivered. Not even 8 wins in a row. Before anything arrives in the physical world, it must first be born in the emotional realm. Feeling is the currency of the spirit. It is your vibrational signature. It is the invisible bridge between you and the manifestation you seek. You can repeat words 1,000 times, but if your body does not believe, nothing shifts. Emotion is what activates your affirmations. Emotion is the fuel of your divine request. When I declared that wealth was mine, I did not just say it, I felt it. I rehearsed the joy of receiving. I felt the adrenaline of opening the envelope. I imagined the lightness in my chest, the thrill in my hands, the smile on my face. I rehearsed gratitude so vividly that my nervous system began to record it as memory. I was not waiting for the money to feel wealthy. I felt wealthy, and then the money followed. This is not fantasy. It is emotional training. You must teach your body what it feels like to live in overflow. You must give your cells the experience before the experience comes. When you do, the subconscious stops resisting, the body stops scanning for danger, the heart stops bracing for disappointment. You enter into receptive coherence. Most people wait for the evidence to feel the emotion. They say, I'll feel secure when I have the money. But the law of vibration is opposite. You feel secure, and then the money comes. Because the field around you doesn't read your bank account, it reads your frequency. And frequency is determined by your dominant feeling state. Every morning, I sat in stillness and summoned the feeling of already winning. I asked no questions, I made no demands, I simply felt. I breathed into abundance. I let my body be filled with the energy of arrival. I allowed my face to smile for no reason. I rehearsed the future as if it had already happened. And because emotion carries no concept of time, the subconscious began to live in that future, and the universe obeyed. This practice is not about pretending, it's about embodying. You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing to align with a higher timeline. You are not hoping, you are experiencing in advance. This is what spiritual leaders mean when they say, act in faith. It is not about acting externally. It is about feeling internally. When you rehearse wealth emotionally, you create new neural pathways. You condition your body to expect miracles. You open your energy to surprise income, divine timing, sudden overflow. The field around you reshapes itself to reflect the emotion you have stabilized within. This is why those who feel joy attract more joy. Those who live in fear attract more fear. Not because life is punishing, but because life is responsive. You must protect this emotional rehearsal. Do not let the outer world steal your inner knowing. Do not let bank statements, news, or opinions override what you feel in spirit. That inner world is more real than anything you can see, because what you feel consistently becomes what you live inevitably. Every time I won, I had already felt it for weeks. I didn't wait for the number to appear to celebrate. I celebrated, and then the number appeared. I was already living in the timeline, and this made me a vibrational match for the blessing. So begin today. Choose the feeling. Hold it longer than you ever have. Let it become familiar. Let it become yours. Because the moment it feels like home to your heart, it will appear in your life. Desperation is not a request. It's a repellent. It signals to the universe that you do not yet trust the process. It says, I don't believe this is mine. And because the law is precise, desperation attracts delay. It is not because the universe is cruel, it is because desperation lowers your field, and a low field cannot hold a high blessing. This is why detachment is not passive, it's powerful. When I detached from needing the wind started flowing. Not because I stopped caring, but because I started trusting. Detachment says, I know it's done, so I no longer have to chase it. It is a frequency of certainty, not indifference. I remember sitting one morning after weeks of affirmations and thinking, whether it comes today or next month, I'm already blessed. That moment was a spiritual pivot. I had moved from waiting to receiving, from tension to surrender, from fear to faith. And within days, the next lottery win arrived. Gratitude was my anchor, not gratitude after receiving, but gratitude as if I already had. I said, thank you for the wealth that is mine. I thanked the invisible. I blessed the unseen. I gave thanks for what hadn't arrived physically, but was already mine energetically. And in doing so, I became a magnet for the fulfillment. Gratitude opens the heart. It softens the nervous system. It creates coherence. When you are grateful, you stop vibrating in lack. You stop doubting, stressing, proving. You settle into knowing. And from this state, your words become powerful. Because now they are not spoken from hunger. They are spoken from abundance. Detachment is not detachment from desire. It's detachment from how and when. You still want it. You still speak it. But you no longer grip it with fear. You've passed the spiritual test. You've moved from obsession to divine flow. This is what few understand about manifestation. It is not about controlling reality. It's about becoming so aligned with truth that reality adjusts to you. You become the one who wins, not because you're forcing, but because you're flowing. You know it's coming, so you relax, you trust, you breathe, you stay in gratitude. Desperation shrinks your field, detachment expands it, gratitude electrifies it. When these three are mastered, you move from trying to receive to becoming the receiver itself. The wins I received came not from effort, but from energetic integrity. My thoughts, my feelings, my words, and my body all agreed. I no longer needed proof. I was the proof, and the universe, in perfect obedience to law, matched me with blessing. You must do the same. Let go of the need to see it immediately. Hold the knowing longer than the fear. Let gratitude flood your day. And speak only from the version of you who already has it. Because once you are no longer desperate, you are ready, and when you're ready, the miracle arrives. Effortlessly. The words you speak are sacred, but without ritual, they drift. Without embodiment, they fade. The spirit responds to repetition, rhythm, and reverence. It is not enough to speak wealth, you must live it. You must bring the invisible into your bones. This is where real magic begins, not just in mind or mouth, but in the rituals that make the unseen feel real. When I won, it wasn't by chance. It was because I built a spiritual routine that told the universe, I am already the one who receives. I had daily ceremonies, quiet, intentional acts that anchored the energy of abundance into my body. These were not grand gestures. They were private, powerful practices that tuned me into divine frequency. Each morning, before touching my phone or speaking to anyone, I went to the mirror and affirmed, I am the one wealth chooses. I receive with ease. I am rich in body, mind, and soul. But I didn't just say it. I stood like it. I lifted my shoulders. I breathed deep. I made eye contact with the future version of me. I let the posture match the prophecy. Throughout the day, I spoke to water. Yes, water. I whispered affirmations into my drinking glass because water holds vibration. I said, this water nourishes my wealth frequency. And I drank with gratitude, not habit. Every sip became a sacrament. Every drop reminded my body, we are wealthy now. I moved my body with the intention of someone who was already wealthy. My walks were slow and grounded. My steps were not rushed. They were sovereign. I walked like a person who had nowhere to chase, only things to receive. My energy said, it is done. I do not beg. I collect. At night, I lit a single candle. I sat in silence and visualized my numbers being called, not with desperation but with acceptance. I breathed in wealth. I exhaled doubt. I imagined holding the ticket, feeling the joy, hearing the news. Not once did I question it. Not once did I ask how. I just felt it over and over again until it became more real than my current circumstances. These rituals were not performances. They were portals. They brought the vibration from theory into embodiment. They trained my nervous system to expect the blessing, and they reminded my subconscious that this is our new normal. This is what most people miss. They speak abundance but live fear. They affirm wealth but move like beggars. They talk about alignment but carry the energy of survival. But when your actions match your affirmations, the universe responds like lightning. So ask yourself, what does the wealthy version of me eat, wear, say, and do? Then do that, not to impress anyone, but to impress your subconscious. When you live as if, you no longer chase, you magnetize. Let your life become a ritual. Let every breath, every sip, every word be an offering. You are not waiting to become wealthy, you are practicing it. Daily, faithfully, joyfully. And in that practice, the reality takes form. True wealth is never selfish. It is not hoarded. It is circulated. It is not just for personal gain. It is for collective upliftment. When I received, I gave. Not from obligation, but from overflow. Each lottery win was a confirmation not just of my power, but of my purpose. I knew this abundance was not just mine to keep, it was mine to extend. You see, prosperity that blesses only you will begin to dry, but prosperity that flows through you becomes infinite. You become a vessel for divine supply, a channel, not a container, and this is when abundance truly multiplies. The moment I began to use my wealth to heal, to inspire, to support others, I became unstoppable. After my second win, I began giving anonymously. I paid someone's rent, I donated to a clinic, I gave without being asked, and with each act of generosity, I could feel my vibration elevate. It wasn't just about the money, it was about becoming a living expression of divine generosity. The law is simple. What you give with love returns expanded, and what you hoard in fear decays. If you want your manifestations to last, tie them to a mission bigger than you. The universe supports the ones who support others. The flow is for those who let it flow through them. Even before I won, I gave. Not large amounts, but small gifts, small acts, small seeds. I smiled at strangers. I blessed my money before spending it. I treated every transaction as a spiritual exchange. I lived in the energy of, I have more than enough to share. And because I lived that way, the universe matched that energy again and again. This is the deeper reason you must repeat your words, hold your rituals, rehearse your feelings, not just to receive, but to become a conduit. When you become the person who gives from joy, from trust, from divine knowing, you align with an entirely new level of wealth, purposeful prosperity. Money is not evil. It is not neutral. It is responsive. It responds to energy. It expands in hands that are open, not clenched. It flows to hearts that are rooted in gratitude, not greed. And when your desire for wealth is tied to love, not ego, it comes faster, stronger, and with sacred momentum. So ask yourself, who will I bless when I receive this? Who will I lift? What light will I shine? And then begin now. Begin with what you have. Begin with how you speak, how you give, how you love. I won 8 times because I wasn't chasing money. I was aligning with purpose. I was becoming the kind of person wealth could trust. And the moment you do the same, the moment your energy says, this is not just for me, this is for we, the divine gates open. Because the universe does not pay wishes. It pays vessels. And when you become that vessel, there are no limits.